Local Justice, presented by Elrod Pope Law Firm, serving our community since 1980. Here's your host, Attorney Ben Leader.
Welcome to Local Justice. On this show, we spend a lot of time highlighting the people who protect and serve our community, often in ways the public never fully sees. Today, I'm honored to welcome as a guest someone whose job literally requires him and his entire team to run towards danger while everyone else is running away from it. Joining us today is Rock Hill Fire Chief Ben Grant. Chief Grant is a third-generation firefighter with more than 22 years of experience in the fire service, including 17 years here with the Rock Hill Fire Department. He recently became fire chief, where he now oversees more than 140 employees, 6 fire stations, emergency operations, fire prevention, inspections, training, and so much more. Chief Grant, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time and appreciate you being here. For the viewers who don't know you or who may be meeting you for the first time, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, kind of where you grew up, and what ultimately led you to this career path.
So my name's Ben Grant. I'm third-generation firefighter, as you said. I'm born and raised and still live in Chester, South Carolina, just right down the road from Rock Hill. Started in the fire service as a family kind of tradition. My grandfather was a founding member of the volunteer fire department out in the rural area where we live. My dad was a volunteer and then was a career firefighter for the city of Chester. So, as I grew up, it was something that I knew that, I wanted to do, going to calls with them and, just seeing the action and seeing the ability to help others and stuff like that. So, kind of made a deal with my dad once I graduated high school that I'd at least get a 2-year degree. That was kind of a gentleman's agreement between me and him before I started putting in applications. So, very shortly after I graduated, put in an application here at the city, and I've been here ever since.
That's fascinating. The third generation aspect is something that it really sticks out to me, and it seems like something that's probably pretty rare. But the more I learn about the firefighting culture and community, there's a lot of multi-generation lines that choose to do this work. Is that right?
Right, yeah, and we've got a lot of employees who, at the city, their dads work there, or, previous family member of some sort, uncle, grandfather, throughout the history of the department.
And it sounds like you were pretty much chomping at the bit to get to it, and your dad was almost, trying to push you, just, go get some education, explore some other options, right, and wanted you to take a look around first.
Right. And I think he knew, over time I would eventually need the education, a little bit more formal education, and sometimes being hard-headed kind of bites you later on, because then I went back and pursued my bachelor's degree later in life online, and it was a little bit tougher, having a career and a family and all, going forward, but it's something I accomplished. So.
That's right. Well, I think it says a lot about firefighters that, so many sons and daughters want to continue that legacy, and it's not like you don't know what you're getting into at that point. I mean, you saw the toll and the heavy days and tough nights your dad probably worked, and right, your grandfather, and, you also saw probably the joy and, passion they got out of it too.
Right.
So what ultimately led you to the Rock Hill Fire Department?
Well, I wanted something a little bit bigger. Being from Chester, it's kind of a small town atmosphere, and I had several folks that I knew that worked for Rock Hill, and always, just wanting a little bit more than what I'd, been accustomed to in a small town. And Rock Hill was that good mixture. There's other departments bigger than us in areas, but I wanted still that kind of hometown feel, and
sure,
being able to know people by name, and the former Chief Blackman, he knew me, he knew my family, he knew stuff about me, and that's kind of the same way that I continue to try to do with all of our members. But larger departments, you kind of become a number, and I still like that hometown feel, but being in a larger area and more, growing department.
That's right, and I was going to say you came through kind of at the perfect time where Rock Hill's seeing this surge of growth, and that probably opened some growth opportunities, obviously for you and the department as well.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about kind of the role you started in and the different roles you've had along the journey, because it looks like you've checked about every box you can check and been in the trenches yourself, working your way up to this role.
So I did. We began as a firefighter 1 rank. That's a recruit firefighter, and then you go into firefighter 1, and then working your way up through the ranks, firefighter 2, driver engineer who operates the truck, captain, the company officer of the truck, battalion chief, being a shift supervisor, deputy chief, and then ultimately chief.
That's fantastic, and you're a pretty young age for a chief too, which I think shows that you impressed a lot of people along the way. And what does it mean personally to be able to be named chief? At your age, at this point in your career, at a department like Rock Hill, where you were able to spend 17 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that ultimately you strive for. To always be the next step, and within the fire department, being the chief is the top role. But just over the years, pursuing different forms of education, trainings, and just kind of advancing the next step, and just wanting more for not only the department but the employees as well, and just striving to be where I can be for them. And that ultimately, without the firefighters, there'd be no reason for a fire chief. To serve the citizens of the community.
That's right. Well, that's great. Well, we're going to take a quick break from the station sponsors. Thank you for giving us some background on your life and what led you to this point. I want to dive deeper into the department as a whole when we return, kind of talk about what a modern fire department looks like versus a lot of the conceptions out there, from historical times. And so want to dive back into that when we return. And thank you again for your time. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to Local Justice. We'll be right back with Chief Grant here shortly. After a car accident, everything feels overwhelming. Your injuries, your job, the insurance companies contacting you before you even understand what happened. And you deserve someone who knows how to navigate these situations. A law firm who has handled thousands of injury cases across our region. Elrod Pope has been helping injured people for more than 45 years. If you have been hurt, call Elrod Pope. We will help you get back on your feet.
Reliable Healthcare is a trusted home healthcare provider. They offer services to seniors and people with disabilities. Reliable Healthcare is a non-medical agency that helps with everything from personal care assistance, housekeeping, childcare, dementia, companionship, and end of life. Reliable Healthcare provides personalized care that enables clients to maintain independence and quality of life and the security of their own homes. Reliable Healthcare, where every individual deserves to be treated with the utmost respect and compassion. Visit them on the web or on Hurlong Avenue in Rock Hill.
Coke Zero is now Coke Zero Sugar, with great Coke taste. Some people were excited to hear the news, some were skeptical. So we're not going to have the star of the show you're watching come out and say, "You'll love it." No special jingle written by this week's hottest pop star. No famous internet celebs who happen to be holding the label just so. Okay, maybe just one little pour shot. The only thing that will make you believe Coke Zero Sugar has great Coke taste is trying it yourself. Ice cold Coke Zero Sugar. Try one today.
Being there for someone in their time of need is what Green Funeral Home has done compassionately for 4 generations. It's a privilege we take very seriously.
We believe each life should be honored and remembered by family and friends. Whether you choose traditional burial in our chapel or another venue, or cremation provided by our on-site crematory, we will help guide you through each step to ensure your needs are met.
We are also available to discuss pre-planning. Peace of mind that you have helped your loved one by making those difficult decisions.
When the need arises, our family is here for your family.
Welcome back to Local Justice. I'm attorney Ben Leader with the Elrod Pope Law Firm, and today I'm honored to be joined by the Rock Hill Fire Chief, Ben Grant. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Want to touch on kind of the department as a whole, because I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn how big of an operation it is that you're managing and overseeing. And I think I read somewhere that there's 140 employees now, is that right?
Yep, 142 employees. That's divided into 2 divisions, operations and administration. Operations is our rank and file firefighters. We have 3 shifts working on a 24-48 rotation, 42 personnel per shift. That's divided out over 6 fire stations across the city, 6 engines, 3 ladder companies, and then 2 battalion chiefs.
Wow. And that's quite an operation. I mean, just the HR management of that alone is, a huge ordeal in and of itself, much less that, that many heads, that many employees to keep up with. Obviously, you got to have a strong chain of command in place. You got to have a good leadership team in place to allow you to effectively manage that many people. Tell us a little bit about, that process and who you kind of rely on for the different areas.
Yep, so our 2 divisions, we've got a deputy chief over operations and then a deputy chief over administration. Administration covers our, training, logistics, and fire marshal's office. And we have battalion chiefs over those divisions, as well as, the shift battalions that we have that supervise the day-to-day firefighters.
And, in terms of the type of work you're doing. I think another conception out there is, people assume firefighters are fighting fires most of the time, or, responding to structure fire calls. But in reality, y'all are responding to all sorts of emergency calls. Tell us a little bit about the balance between, how much of your work is actually still, based on firefighting responses versus medical emergencies, car accidents, things like that.
Right. So we kind of joke in the fire service, jack of all trades. Whenever somebody has an emergency, no matter what it is, they call for the fire department. And everyone thinks that we're responding to structure fires, as you said, and that's really for 2025 that was only 2% of our call volume.
Oh.
Our total call volume was just over 9,500 calls. So really that's a small amount compared to the other calls that we're running. Majority of what we run now are medical related calls. To be a firefighter with the City of Rock Hill, you also have to be an EMT.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some folks who are trained higher as up to the paramedic level, but a lot of people ask, well, hey, why does a fire truck come when we need an ambulance? Well, a lot of times we can get there before the ambulance does, and we can provide the same level of care as the folks on the ambulance, just we can't transport. So we can get that aid quicker, faster, get it started until the transport unit arrives.
It's fascinating to me, just the depth of knowledge that your folks have to have just across the board, whether it's EMT type medical training to the the firefighting response itself to coming onto a chaotic accident scene. I mean, a lot of times you're a mile deep of knowledge, an inch wide, but it feels like y'all have to be a mile deep and a mile wide with everything you get called to do.
Right. Yeah, and I mean like I said, we respond to fires, medical emergencies, motor vehicle accidents, and then all types of technical rescue, swift water, confined space, trench operations, rope rescue operations, hazardous material response. Kind of the list goes on.
That's right.
And like I said, whenever somebody has an emergency, no telling what it might be. It could be a busted water line, and they just don't know how to cut water off, and then we become a plumber.
That's right.
So we kind of joke with that jack of all trades.
That's right, and I'm sure you still occasionally may have to deal with the cat in the tree that we historically
we get a lot of those calls, and we kind of joke and say you've never seen a cat skeleton in a tree. They'll eventually come down. So.
Well, I think you're living proof that the modern fire department is not your granddaddy's fire department. That's with the expectations and the standards. The values and the mission's still the same, but the job's a lot harder than it's ever been and requires a lot more expertise.
Oh yeah, the training aspect is really big in the department. And being able to make sure that we not only have the baseline training that we need, but then being able to keep up with the changes, the growth, advancements in technology. And training for those aspects as well.
Absolutely. Just a never checking the box, I imagine. It's just a constant pivoting and adapting to
correct.
Yep, new processes and procedures and everything else.
The learning never stops.
That's right.
We tell our new recruits, at the end of recruit school, this is just the beginning.
That's right. So for anybody out there that's interested in becoming a firefighter, tell us a little bit about kind of the fitness test that they have to go through, to be able to apply, and then, what the training looks like, beyond that.
Yep. So our minimum requirements is a high school diploma, 18 years old, valid driver's license. But then once you apply, we put you through a skills physical agility test, where you come out and perform some job-related type functions to make sure that you're physically fit enough for the job. We also have a written portion, interview portion, and then if you're selected to be a member of the department, you go into what we call recruit school. And that's a 17-week now recruit academy that not only gets you your fire training, rescue training, but then also your EMT training if you're not already an EMT.
That's great. And some of the crews we see like jogging around downtown with the fire shirts on, is that typically going to be one of those recruiting?
It could be recruits, or it could be just a group of, firefighters who exercise together, on off-duty days.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty extensive kind of training, step right in and full go for 17 weeks to really be able to get up and running.
And, we have folks that come in who have zero experience, and then we have folks who come in who have some form of, family experience or, volunteer somewhere. So, we can train you from 0 to 100, or we can train you, from wherever you fall in the mix.
That's great. And I imagine you get applicants from kind of all walks of life, second careers, people right out of high school.
We do.
That's great.
Yep.
And another thing that obviously sticks out to me is just kind of the camaraderie involved. You know, your men and your women there, you know, have put their lives and trust in other people's hands a lot of times, and that certainly builds camaraderie and trust.
It's truly a brotherhood, sisterhood, you know, and this job is a team aspect job. You know, you have to watch out for each other's back, and, you know, when you're going into a dangerous, you know, environment or call, you know, that's when it really comes together. So, you know, having that second family per se, you know, at the fire station really evolves over into, you know, times when we're at work, but also times when we're not at work, you know, so.
That's right. That's great. Well, it's all about the culture at the end of the day, and despite the growth and how many, you know, people and departments you're managing, clearly y'all still have a great culture, which is great to see.
Right.
We're going to take another quick break from the station sponsors. We'll be right back and want to touch on kind of the community ties and maybe some advice you may have for the community in the final segment. So
Sounds good.
Thank you, Chief Grant, for joining us, and thank you to the viewers for tuning in. We'll be right back with more local justice shortly. I wish everyone came with a warning label, because if you could predict a car accident, you would probably stay home that day. But accidents are never planned, and the moments after are confusing. You don't need a warning label. You need a law firm who knows how to handle this. A law firm who has helped people in South Carolina through injury cases for decades. If you've been hurt, call Elrod Pope. We'll help you understand your options and get moving in the right direction.
Coke Zero is now Coke Zero Sugar, with great Coke taste. Some people were excited to hear the news, some were skeptical. So we're not going to have the star of the show you're watching come out and say, "You'll love it." No special jingle written by this week's hottest pop star. No famous internet celebs who happen to be holding the label just so. Okay, maybe just one little pour shot. The only thing that will make you believe Coke Zero Sugar has great Coke taste is trying it yourself. Ice cold Coke Zero Sugar. Try one today.
When a catastrophe hits, it can be a very stressful time for you. When you have trees on your house, when you have trees on your cars, and you don't know what to do, you call us.
We're not a 1-800 number, we're an 803 number. We've been in business for over 60 years because we take care of our clients. That means taking care of them during claim situations.
We're not 9 to 5, we're 24/7. We're gonna be there when you need us most. Gill Insurance, your local auto owner's agent. Understanding business is how we do business.
Nesting season is here again, and overworked bird moms can always use a hand. There's plenty to do, from building a nest and laying eggs to raising their young ones. You can help the whole family by providing bird foods rich in calcium, protein, and fat, such as our Super Suets, Bark Butter Bits, or Nesting Super Blend. And provide a safe place to nest with one of our ready-to-use Eco-Tough nesting boxes. Shop Wild Birds Unlimited for everything you'll need to invite nesting birds to raise a family in your backyard.
Founders Federal Credit Union means banking made for you. The on the go, the pick up and go, and the oh, I want to go. Because at Founders, we give you the financial tools that make every dollar work for you. For the little things to the big things. For your future and your peace of mind. We'll always stay grounded in our roots, but reaching beyond what you'd expect is where we'll always go. Find out what our members already know and enjoy a new way to bank. Relax, you're with Founders.
Hi, I'm John Warden with Champion Services. If you're considering remodeling or making repairs to your home due to storm damage, here's a few things to ponder. A lot of folks have come in town promising a lot of things about we've been here for a long period of time, only to be found faults. Choosing the right contractor is extremely important. Here at Champion Services, our goal is one thing, it's customer satisfaction. And that's just not a sentence, that's a fact. Let me say it's been a joy to serve you for over 30 years. This message is brought to you by Champion Services and CN2.
Welcome back to Local Justice. I'm attorney Ben Leader with the Elrod Pope Law Firm, and today I'm honored to be joined by the Rock Hill Fire Chief, Ben Grant. Chief Grant, thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir.
I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier about the statistics with the 2%, I think, were the number of calls for, fire-related incidents in Rock Hill last year out of more than 9,000, calls for help y'all got. What is it, do you think, has led to such a great thing, which is a decrease in these types of incidents? Is it the educational piece? Is it technology that's helped? It feels like we finally made a lot of progress in terms of preventing the fires.
Right. I think it's a combination thereof. Public education as far as fire safety starts at a very young age. With us, our fire marshal's office going out to the schools, firefighters visiting facilities and giving demonstrations and educational materials, and it kind of evolves into, throughout a person's life, to keep continuing practicing those steps that they learned at an early age, as well as the advancements in, technology and building construction practices that have, helped improve the fire safety portion of living.
That's right. Well, the data, I think, speaks for itself. Things we've been doing for decades are working. That educational piece at a young age is still largely the same, and it, appears to be working. Unfortunately, y'all's needs have, now been pulled other areas, and car accidents and things like that certainly have increased. But
right.
It's good to hear that at least the core, issue seems to be improving.
Right.
Obviously, there are still calls out there taking place, and I'm sure you may still have some advice or some insights in terms of tips that you commonly see or would want to advise people to, look out for.
Yeah, the most common, fire safety tips that we offer is have a working smoke detector. That's, those are truly lifesavers whenever you have a fire inside your home at nighttime, whenever you're sleeping. Making sure that you've got a working smoke detector on every level of your house, near your sleeping areas, and test it monthly, but normally we say when you change your clocks, you change your batteries. Now with technology advances, you might not have a true battery that you can change in your smoke detector, so we at least say test your smoke detector at that time. Mm-hmm. Having a home escape plan, that you practice with all your family members of your home. If something does happen, where do you go outside, where you meet, who do you call, how do you make sure that everyone's accounted for. And then really lastly is just practice good safety tips while you're at home, whether it's cooking, electrical safety. One of the big things that we see is unattended cooking a lot. So making sure that if you are cooking, you're staying with what's on the stovetop. And then when it comes to advancements in technology, obviously there's batteries and chargers, and don't overload outlets. Don't leave the new style batteries charging for extended periods of time, or leaving them unattended for long periods of time.
That's the helpful information. And on the cooking piece in particular, cell phones are a big distraction on the road. I imagine they're a distraction in all parts of life, and
right.
that's probably a prime example of one of them.
Right.
In terms of some of the innovations in technology, is AI something that y'all are able to take advantage of? Are y'all able to use like drone technology or any of these modern innovations to kind of help keep your folks safer?
So it's funny that you speak of AI. We recently just changed to a new records management software, and a portion of that, a module of that, is AI for our fire reports and medical reports.
That's great.
Kind of being able to talk to type, and as we record information, it automatically puts it in the specific fields where it goes in our reporting system. So that's a new bridge that we're slowly crossing to make sure we're doing it right, and staying up with the times as well. Drone technology is something also that we're kind of inching into. We currently don't have a drone with the fire department, but the police department and then the city, county emergency management agencies have drones, and our biggest use of drone currently is during search and rescue type operations. Mm-hmm. Being able to have the eyes in the sky, especially when we're involved in a swiftwater rescue along the Catawba River. If we can get that drone up faster, looking, scanning the river, it may keep us from having to put one of our rescuers out into a dangerous situation if we can spot and go to a more exact location of where the person's at.
Sure. It's fascinating to see kind of where that technology's going, and I imagine at some point it'll allow y'all to maybe not have to put as many people in harm's way when it comes to responding to dangerous structure fires or something like that.
Right. Definitely using it, other applications with fires or hazmat calls, being able to do some recon.
Sure.
And scanning areas, without having to actually put boots on the ground.
That's right. One of the things that I'm well aware of just in my line of work is, how firefighters are often the front lines and the first to respond to brutal accident scenes with very heavy, injuries and losses of life involved. And it takes a significant toll, and that's just one piece of, everything y'all see, whether it's the front lines of the drug crisis, fire itself, or accidents or medical emergencies. How do you encourage your officers to take care of them, or your firefighters to take care of themselves, mentally, and how do y'all kind of look out for them just based on the day in the job there?
Right. So, we're very cognizant of the well-being and health of all our members. Whether it's physical fitness or it's mental health awareness, and as I said earlier, it's a true family, and watching out for each other, noticing signs of, when calls get each other. But really, one of the big things that we do is, debriefs, hot washes, after action reviews from calls to where we can really talk about what happened, and kind of voice what we've seen, what may be bothering us, some of the more seasoned folks may have dealt with something in this same manner that we can help, assist a newer recruit or newer firefighter, to deal with what they've got going on. But, just watching out for each other, being cognizant of signs, and just, overall good practices within the department to, keep up with the health and well-being of all members.
That's right. It kind of all ties back to that culture at the end of the day, and having the right culture helps y'all take care of those folks.
Right.
Want to end just on putting a plug out there for the museum, because I know y'all been through a lengthy renovation process. I think you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel on that. Tell us a little bit about what that's going to look like and when you expect maybe the public can start, checking that out.
We're hoping to have it back open, late summer, early fall. Really, we're renovating some in the museum, but really the top floor is our headquarters portion where our command staff, fire marshal's office will be relocated to. So,
that's great.
Bringing that up to, new technology, modern advances and stuff, and bringing a lot of our daytime staff under one roof. We would really love for the community to come out. Hopefully we're going to have an open house type, day once we can get moved in and get settled. But, the museum's a really big part for not only fire safety, but also fire history of our department, of the city. So it's a big thing that I'm glad that we have.
Oh, yeah. Well, y'all have got a great connection to the community. Like we were chatting earlier, everybody loves firefighters and love how welcoming and open y'all are to showing off the facility and letting people, I've seen birthday parties and all kinds of things that can take place there. So appreciate everything y'all do and the sacrifices y'all make.
Yep.
Well, thank you for joining us. That'll wrap up this segment of Local Justice. Thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another episode, and a special thanks to Rock Hill Fire Chief Ben Grant and all of his men and women working underneath him that sacrifice their lives on the line every day to help keep our community safer. So we certainly appreciate them, and we appreciate each of you tuning in, and hope everyone stays safe out there. Thank you. So when a client first comes into our office, they're dealing with very painful injuries. They're trying to provide for their families at the same time. You can just see the sense of anxiety, the grief, the worry on their face as soon as they walk in the door. One of the first things we do is we try to alleviate that concern and take that weight off their shoulder and put it on our plate. We see people immediately leave here from the first consultation. I can already see a sense of relief because they know that they've got a team helping them now, and it's no longer just their problem.
Brown's Roofing began in 1989 with just a truck, a trailer, and a mission to do things the right way. What started as one man hand-nailing shingles has grown into a trusted name across South Carolina and North Carolina. At Brown's Roofing, we believe in honest work, fair pricing, and a quality that lasts. If we wouldn't allow it on our mother's home, we won't allow it on yours. With Brown's Roofing, you're not just getting a roof, you're getting our word.
We know the type. You like to start early, finish late, make lemon squares, and make payments to the college fund from anywhere in the house. We know you rely on Comporium for the things you rely on most, like a view of the backyard. That's just a bunny, and hundreds of channels to watch, whenever you want. So you may think of us as just your internet company, but we're more like the I didn't know they could do all that company. Comporium, always ready.
Founders Federal Credit Union means banking made for you. The on the go, the pick up and go, and the oh, I want to go. Because at Founders, we give you the financial tools that make every dollar work for you. For the little things to the big things. For your future and your peace of mind. We'll always stay grounded in our roots, but reaching beyond what you'd expect is where we'll always go. Find out what our members already know and enjoy a new way to bank. Relax, you're with Founders.